Good morning. You may hear some background noise today. It's Wednesday, and here at Buttonwood Beach, it is lawn mowing day and weed whacking day. And we just bit a bullet because one of the weed whackers was going to spray poison all over my yard. And I have a dog. So I had to use my Spanglish because of course they don't speak English, to tell them, no tienes, no poison, el perro, in danger. No, don't do that. Mi esposo trabajas with the weeds. My Spanish is not that great. And I don't think the guy still understood, so maybe he's Peruvian. I have no idea, but he didn't seem to understand a word I was saying. I just said no. But I don't like that. I don't like the fact that they're taking it upon themselves here to spray for weeds, and they don't know if there's going to be children playing around or dogs. And I know that my husband never sprays any kind of poison anywhere where our dog walks or does her business. So I'm glad I was here to bite that bullet. Okay, let's get right to the show. First of all, there have been, and again, I was just speaking to my cousin, and I also have to ask you guys this. She said she tried to watch my show yesterday, and I believe it was the first one I posted, and that it cut out on her after 5 minutes. If any of you also are having this issue, can you please let me know? I'm not sure why it is. You shouldn't be having this issue, but she'd like to know if it's her computer going crazy or something. Okay, so we're hearing now that all these tax breaks that some people are going to enjoy through Donald Trump, that there's going to be cuts, and there's always cuts. And some of the cuts I approve of, and some appall me. So he wants to cut Medicaid and food stamps. Well, good. And I say good, and you're all going to get your thumbs out and say how evil I am and how much I hate children and women and mothers and all this shit. No, you know what I hate? I hate people who have good health, are blessed with good health, have healthy children, and claim disability. I can't work. I have a 2-year-old. I can't work. I'm pregnant. I can't work. I just had a baby. Bullshit. Bullshit. My sister-in-law has had 7 children, and she doesn't even take her full maternity leave after she has her babies. 7 children. Hardly misses a day of work. Because she can't afford to. Her and her husband both work very hard. They don't take welfare and food stamps. They both work. And they work in a way that they're on different shifts, so they don't have to hire the babysitters. So they're doing everything right. They're hardworking, tax-paying citizens. They don't claim that, oh, she had 7 children. And some of her pregnancies were not easy, by the way. But she never used her pregnancy as an excuse to take welfare or food stamps or to not go to work, like some people do. Here's what they're going to cut that I don't like. It's Social Security disability. Truly disabled people, first of all, when they were working, they paid in. They're not asking for anything for free. They paid in through their payroll taxes. They've earned that. And they didn't choose to be unable to work. They didn't choose to get sick. And they deserve more than they're actually getting now, and Trump is talking like he's going to cut that. That is inappropriate. Any cuts to Social Security in any way is not a good idea. And here's why. Because he's taking the money. It's your money. And he's giving it as a tax break to somebody you've never met. But it's your money. You pay in with every paycheck you earn to Social Security and Medicare. And you know what makes me sick? The other night on Nightly News, Medicare still, after many years, this started decades ago, Medicare will not cover at 100%. They won't even cover dental work and hearing aids. These are elderly people. When you get older, your hearing goes, your teeth fail. But what the government through Medicare is trying to say is, we don't give a shit after you stop working and stop paying taxes and stop breaking your ass for your boss. We don't care if you can chew your food. We don't care if you get abscesses in your mouth. serious infections that can lead to a lot of other illnesses. We don't care if you can hear, because you mean nothing to us anymore. Remember last week when I talked about something old, you just throw it away rather than making it new again and keeping up with it and, cherishing it? How the hell is a person supposed to live if they can't hear and they can't eat? Because they can't afford to go to a dentist. And then you have people like my husband and I with no children, and these elderly people as well, because you have to have a supplemental insurance policy now. These policies through Obamacare, we're paying for pediatric dental care. So little kids can go to the dentist at no cost, but the adults can't. They won't touch an adult. I can't go to the dentist and show them my health insurance card and have anything paid for. I had to go out and get another dental discount plan just for dental. So there you go. Good old government, good old Medicare. Your money, you've paid into it. And they don't care if you can hear, and they don't care if you can eat. It's horrible. I've also heard that if you have a child who is diagnosed with certain conditions, regardless of your income, you are eligible for Medicaid. You can be a millionaire. Now, if I'm wrong, please let me know that I'm wrong. But there are actually people out there who work and earn a living and should be able to afford health insurance for their children, but because their child has ADHD or any other form of, I would say, like a psychiatric problem, or there's several different illnesses where they basically can go on state-funded, taxpayer-funded healthcare because they're on medication and they need to see psychiatrists or they have doctor appointments more often. How is that right? That's as bad as saying that a doctor's kid gets free school breakfast and lunch so the poor kids don't get embarrassed. I mean, that's ridiculous. Especially when you're saying our elderly and our disabled are going to lose. They're going to lose. Look, many of you get mad at me when I talk about welfare and food stamps, but I have to say, if you are a healthy human being, if you have no chronic illnesses, nothing that is considered a doctor-diagnosed disability, you have no business sitting on your ass all day and birthing children that you can't afford. If you don't want to work, fine. That's on you. But then you suffer the consequences. Don't bring children into your lazy, pathetic world. And again, I'm going to be reading that book, and I can't wait. I can't wait to read the book. I think my husband might be getting it for me. I should have it definitely in the next couple of weeks. Called The Vanishing American Adult. And that's going to be a really good topic to talk about as I read that book. I'm looking forward to it. It's by either Senator or Congressman Ben Sasse. It's already a bestseller. It makes me so sad. We've got heroin addicts in this country who get Medicaid simply because they chose to become drug addicts. And believe me, don't put your thumbs away. They choose that. Nobody forces anybody to go out and use heroin. It's a choice. Choice you make. Smokers don't go on Medicaid. Oh, I'm a smoker. I guess since I'm being charged like I'm dying for insurance and everything, perhaps I should be on disability because I smoke. Yeah, try that one. That's different. That's a choice. Yeah, but smoking is legal. When you are using an illegal product, committing crimes to use your product, and then the government says, we'll take care of you, we'll give you Medicaid, we'll give you a welfare check every month, we'll give you food stamps, I'm sorry, that's wrong. The only thing the government should be doing for these people is giving them a chance at a free rehab bed somewhere to get clean. But they should not be supporting them while they are actively breaking the law and using heroin. Especially when they're going to kick our elderly and disabled people under the bus. My husband and I have been kicked under the bus for 20 years. We've been kicked under the bus, as you know, because we refuse to take the government's bribe to have children. We won't do it. And that's hurt us, especially with our taxes. It certainly would hurt us if, God forbid, my husband lost his job and we had no income. It's hard to qualify for welfare and food stamps, even though we've been paying for other people to get them for 30 years, when it's just the two of you and you're both healthy. I'm not even sure my husband, because he's self-employed, would get unemployment. Now, I know my husband, and he wouldn't be unemployed for long, because he's a go-getter. He doesn't sit around and twiddle his thumbs and ask the government for help, ask his neighbors to pay for his bad fortune, like some people do. But when you think about it, my grandfather was 61 when he died, and my grandmother was 12 years younger. She was 49 years old and a widow. That's young to be a widow. And she was no career woman. She was a housewife. This was in 1964. Good Greek wives did not work. So she got Social Security. She got widow's benefits, and she got Medicare. And you know, I never heard her complain about a medical bill. She did not need a supplemental insurance policy because Medicare covered her expenses. That was in 1964 through, I'm assuming, 1980 something, where she did go into a nursing home. Now, when she went into the nursing home, she could not go to the creme de la creme of nursing homes. She had to go to the cheap nursing home, which some of my family members were upset about, but my mother had no choice. My grandmother was bedridden. My mother could not care for her. She worked full-time. And my grandmother's illness was affecting my lifestyle too, affecting my mother's ability to take care of me, my ability to live a normal childhood, so it was time for her to go into a nursing home. And she fought it tooth and nail. While in the nursing home, though, Medicare covered 100% of all of her expenses. Not today. Not today. You'll be lucky if they cover 80%. And when you say Medicare covers 80%, that sounds pretty good, unless you have like a $300,000 bill. 20% of $300,000, well, that's not the kind of money people have laying around under the mattress or in a bank account. So we have to think about that. Having to buy supplemental insurance is also a pain in the ass after paying in for 30, 40 years of hard work and then ending up having to still pay out your ass. And what kills me is that Social Security and Medicare are two different entities. You have to actually pay out of your Social Security check to get Medicare, whereas I believe they should come together as a package. I don't believe there should be a premium for Medicare, since right on your paycheck it says Social Security and Medicare that comes out of your paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. So I am all for tax cuts. I am. Especially the corporate tax cuts, because that's going to help me and my husband huge. If small business owners can lower their tax rate, that would be amazing for us. And I would love to see people who are abusing the welfare and who are abusing the welfare and food stamp program to be cut off. I think it should be harder. And I think since I know so many people who should have qualified that didn't, they need to rearrange how you qualify for these things, because there are some people who should get some assistance and there are some that absolutely shouldn't. They're abusing it. I think there should be harsher rules in place, and people don't like it for that. I think if you have one child and you're living on welfare and food stamps and Medicaid, you should be forced to use birth control. And I know that's a bad topic, but I do believe that if you have one child you can't afford, there's no reason why you should have another one. So I think the government, if you're using our money, the government money to live, we should be able to say, we don't want you to have any more kids. We want you to have, okay, you had the kid, it was a mistake. Now we're going to help you. When that child goes to school, you're going to get off your sofa and go get yourself a job and help you do that. But no more of this welfare mom going, oh, my kid's going to go to kindergarten soon. I might have to get a job. Let me get pregnant, like some women do. Or I can't afford daycare. Let's get some daycare subsidies. Let's get more money to subsidize babysitting and daycare and preschool so that these welfare mommies can get off their sofa without any excuses. So we take away all the excuses why they can't work. I'm all for that. I will write checks for that. For subsidized daycare and paid for birth control for anybody living on welfare with a child. Once you get a job and you start contributing to society again instead of being a parasite on society, then you can have as many kids as you want. But until then, I also believe in drug testing for anybody on government assistance. If you are taking my money to raise your children and to sit on your sofa all day and do nothing and pretend to look for a job when you're really playing Candy Crush Saga, I don't want you in your house drinking beer, drinking wine, smoking cigarettes, and using illegal drugs. Because you have to pay for those things. And if you can't afford to feed your child, or pay your rent, or pay your cable bill or your internet bill, then you certainly fucking can't afford to buy alcohol, cigarettes, or illegal drugs. So I think drug testing should also be mandatory for anybody on welfare and food stamps. I just think that's the way it should be. And one other thing that I know many people on Social Security are actually qualifying for food stamps. Some members of our military are qualifying for food stamps. That is horrific. We should be ashamed of ourselves. Ashamed. That because what we do for our elderly and our returning military coming back into American life with their families, that they can't afford to feed their children. The elderly can't afford to pay for food and their medication. That is our greatest shame. So everybody that's out there losing their minds because, oh, they're going to cut food stamps, they're going to cut Medicaid, I'm good with that. I liked Clinton's plan, welfare to work. You don't get your check unless you work or volunteer 20 hours a week. And we will help you pay for daycare. We'll find you a babysitter for your kid. And when your kid goes to school, you go to work. Period. They said it in the Bible. Those among you who do not work, you will not eat. And I know none of us wants children to suffer. But see, there's a remedy for that too that none of you find appealing, and that is children's services. If you are so irresponsible that you have a child and you can't afford to feed that child or properly clothe that child or put a roof over that child's head, then you don't belong raising that child. You should not be a parent. Period. It's not popular. But the time is coming, people, where there are more people right now. I mean, 30 years ago, we did not have all these people on welfare, on food stamps, living in subsidized housing that our taxes pay for. Section 8 housing. We didn't have that. And I can't wait to read this new book because I think this book is going to explain why we have it now. Why we have so many younger people who feel so entitled that they don't need to work for anything, that they can run before they tiptoe, that they can get the $300,000 house as their first house instead of the cheaper house or the apartment as their starter house, that they can have as many kids as they want, and if they get into trouble, the government will take care of them. That wasn't the way I was raised back in the 60s and 70s. It's not the way my mother raised me. It's not the way my cousins raised their children that are my age group. Welfare was something to be ashamed of. Not being able to support your family was something to be ashamed of. Hell, in the 60s and 70s, if your wife had to work, it was a shame on the husband because he couldn't support his family. A woman having a job in the 60s was a shame on the husband, a pox on his house, because he wasn't successful enough to take care of his wife and his children. That was then. This is now. Where we treat women like they're somehow so delicate they can't work when they're pregnant. They can't work when they're nursing. They can't work until their children are in school full time. I don't know. You hear all these feminists, equal pay for equal work, and women can do anything. And yet on the other end of the spectrum, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, poor baby. You don't have to get a job. We'll take care of you. Oh, you're raising a baby. That's such hard work. You can't work full-time and raise your baby. I hope all you women out there who have had your babies and going back to work after 6 weeks, or like my sister-in-law who goes back after like 3 weeks, who never misses a day of work, who hates working but has to support your families. I hope that pisses you off. When some girl or some woman says, I can't work, I have a kid to raise, and then takes your money to raise that child. That should make you furious. When you get up at 6 in the morning, take your child to daycare, get your work clothes on, and go work 8 to 10 hour days, go pick your child up and come home and still have to do the dishes and do dinner and change the baby and put the baby to bed. And you have to do all of that. And then you have these women, these lazy ass women, who think that they can't possibly be expected to have a job, even 20 hours a week, because they have a child to take care of. Oh my God. It's just impossible. Poor baby. I'm crying for you. No, you know what? I'm crying for your child and the example you're going to set for them and what they're going to turn out to be in 18 years. If they're going to be hard workers because they saw their parents working hard, or if they just saw mommy sitting on the sofa sipping wine and smoking cigarettes and playing Candy Crush Saga and decide that's what they would rather do with their careers. Mommy, how did you do that? Well, I got pregnant with you. Okay, gotta go get pregnant now. That's my choice. Forget college, I'll just get pregnant. Do what mom did. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic. That's my show. Like I said, any cuts to anything that affects our elderly people, which apparently, according to the new health insurance plan, I am part of that package. Anybody over 50 is now considered elderly. We can be charged more for health insurance. And of course, they're going to cut our Social Security, our Medicare, our Medicaid, Medicare, our disabilities. Everybody said Obamacare was a death knell. It was basically death care. That we were going to, like, remember Granny getting wheelchaired off the cliff? Well, this is a death knell too. Because what we're saying is we're not necessarily going to kill the old people, but we're not going to take care of them properly either. We're not going to pay for the things they need to live a good life in the retirement that they earned. They say a society is judged by how we treat the poorest and the weakest among us. There's nobody weaker than an elderly person who has some health issues and can't afford to eat, to buy food, can't afford dentures so they can chew their food properly when they can eat, and can't afford hearing aids to hear their grandchildren and great-grandchildren's laughter. There's nothing worse than that. Love shows and grows. It's time to show our elderly people and the people who actually go to work every day and expect to get rewarded for it instead of punished. It's time to show some love to those people and make sure that those who are refusing to work, who can work, make sure you understand that, who can work and are refusing to, and are living off of government money, of taxpayer dollars, make sure that we remind them that that's not something to be proud of. It's something to work toward stopping and getting into being a productive member of society. Some of you will say, well, you don't work. No, I don't, because I don't have to support our family. If I had to work because my husband didn't make enough money to support us, I would certainly be working. And I would also not have this house, this trailer. I don't live above my means. I don't take loans out. I don't owe a lot of money. I don't like debt. And I do that for a reason. It's because I did work. I worked hard. I worked 2 jobs for 12 years. Before I met my husband, I had 2 jobs, and after I met my husband, I had 2 jobs when we were poor. I put in my time. And I've also earned my peace and my retirement, even though it's a bit early, but I've earned it. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I don't work, because I'm not taking your money to support my lifestyle. We need to take care of our elderly. We need to take care of those who work for a living. And instead of punishing small children, which this may do, we should make sure that we educate our young women that the government is not going to be your safety net. You have to be your own safety net. If you want to have children, prepare for it, plan for it, and know how you're going to support those children. Because in the end, it should be your responsibility. And our elderly deserve the respect, and they deserve their money that they paid in for 40, 50 years of hard work. They deserve to be taken care of, not by the taxpayers, not by me. They already paid for it. It's their money. We need to let them have it. We need to let them have all of it. They need to have a quality lifestyle in the twilight years that they've earned and enjoy the fruits of their hard labor. Political Paula, out.